Hell yeah. Whoa! So they've made a ton of ground BR changes, and a lot of them seem to focus around the idea of AAs and their general BRs. A lot of anti-airs that we have in the game have never really understood their BRs at all. They seem to just kind of be all over the place. So for me, when it comes to them, at least the way that I look at them is how far away are the BR gaps for AAs. So stuff such as like Britain between like the Crusader AAs and the Falcon, the Soviets between the ZSU-37 and the ZSU-57, or even up to the Shilka, since the 57-2 is much more of an anti-tank vehicle. And these are the things I try and focus on and try and push to be fixed with more vehicles, because unfortunately not having an AA at certain BRs can be really, really rough. So the M15A1 is going down to 2.0 from 2.3. Not a surprise there at all. You know, the vehicle is open topped. It also gets affected by the overpressure mechanic, so you know, it gets battered quite a lot. One of the things that you'll see a lot from the majority of these, if not all of them, which are going down, they're all open topped vehicles. And if you didn't know, with the new pressure mechanic, all you have to do is land, you know, something like a 60 kilo bomb, not even close to them, just near them, and they'll die. And this, I think, is one of the biggest issues why these BR changes are coming in. Because the overpressure stuff, they've lost a lot of their survivability to planes, which is what they're supposed to be good against. So this means that a lot of them have got dropped in BR. You know, the M15A1, the STKFC62, the CCKW353, the ZIS43 as well, all been dropped in BR, including the Anti-2, the Ostwind, the Type 65 AA, the M19 is going down too. The Type 65 for the USSR as well, the premium version, the event vehicle. The Crusader Mark 1 AA is also going down to 4.0. Not a surprise, that thing is terrible. And has been for a while. And then the ZSU-37 is going down, plus the M42s for all nations are dropping to 5.3. So yeah, all of the ones which are going down, they're all open topped. They all have lost a lot of survivability because of the mechanics changes, and also a lot of them are not very good AAs. Like the M42s, they're rough to use in general. Same with the M19s, the Type 65, the Ostwind, in my opinion, is worse than the Whirlwind. The ZIS43, all of these are either single fire or double barreled, you know, fire machines, which don't have great fire rates and can't put a decent spray out in the setup. So to see them all go down, not a surprise. The Falcon is going up from 7.7 to 8.0. This is fine. It makes sense to me. Like, the Falcon is not just a terror for the skies, it also is a terror on the ground. It's got an APDS belt that you unlock at rank 4. This makes it a kill everything machine. It's very good. It's one of those machines I actually use quite a lot for my SBAA daily that you get, you know, when it's like kill 5 enemies with SBAAs. I run the Falcon, the Chieftain Marksman, and the ZA35, and I do pretty well with it. So to see it go up, not too much of a surprise. It kills a lot. It's a very, very, very powerful machine when it wants to be. The only thing I would say, though, is once again, this really exacerbates the point that Britain needs an AA between the 4.0 range, or the 4.0 to 8.0 range. They have nothing there to be able to be an AA. You have to take out a plane, play air superiority to try and control the skies at those BRs for Britain, and at that point you're wasting a lot of SP and you could be more useful on the ground. It would just be nice to have something, you know, the Skink exists, that could easily be thrown in here. There's also a few other options, but yeah, something has to be put there. It's been years now. It's very much rough. Very much just like the Chinese radar-guided AA situation. The Saddam 25 is going up in BR to 8.3. This is kind of a surprise to me. I see it as the same effectiveness as stuff like the Chieftain Marksman, the Gepard, and the Type 87. So it doesn't have that great of a range, but it's generally pretty good at destroying aircraft once it gets a lock on them. But it all depends on the range that you face them at. So to see that going up is kind of a surprise. The Flak rad is also going up from 10.0 to 10.3. Not a huge change apart from you can't run it with the Leopard 2A4 anymore. It is a very powerful machine. You know, it's been buffed like 3 or 4 times the last year. They buffed its rotation, they buffed its reload, they gave it a better missile, they buffed its tracking, so seeing it go up is not a surprise. The Asarad is also going up as well to 10.7. I don't have any experience in that machine, but if it is very similar to the other missile launchers, not a surprise at all. It also, you still run it with the same lineup, the SDRV-122s, so doesn't change it at all. The M247, the Sergeant York, going up to 8.7 now. Once again, not a surprise. The M247 is easily the best gun AA in the game. It has access to a very useful proxy HE, which is it is amazing at pretty much killing anything. So to see it constantly go up, not a surprise to me at all. The Stormer going up, though, is kind of a surprise. I still think the Stormer is one of those vehicles that has a really high skill ceiling to it, but it's just really hard to use for a lot of people because of the fact that you know, there's no proximity on it or anything like that, or at least there didn't used to be. So to see it go up must mean that it's doing well. You know, it's obviously great against helicopters and great at killing stuff which is going in a straight line. So maybe people are just going a bit more straighter nowadays. The LVRB BV701 is going up to 10.0 as well. Not a surprise. I mean, you run it at 10.0 anyway with the SDRF 9040C, so it doesn't make a difference. At 9.7, it's alone by itself, so you can't run it with anything. But yeah, the missile it fires is very good. It has very limited usability though, so I would definitely say that's a bit rough. The ZA35 going up to 8.7 is rough for the vehicle. I understand it's a fast platform, you know, it's mobile, it's also the size of a house, so it's very easy to hit. And also, it does have one of the best radars in game though, a really, really nice radar. But this just means that for me, for my AA lineup, it's just annihilated. I'm gonna have to drop the ZA35 from it. It's a cool vehicle. It still doesn't get access to the best DM rounds that a lot of other AAs do. I disagree with this change, just because of the fact that when you look at a lot of AAs with similar capabilities, they are generally at 8.0. The Adats M113A3 is going up to 10.7 to join the normal Adats. I disagree with this change. I think the normal Adats is much more useful than it, mainly because the M113A3 one has 0 gun depression, so using it in that multi-role is not very easy to do, so obviously I disagree with that. The TTD going up in BR to 10.0, not too much of a surprise there. It's got a very good gun on it, and it's also a new MBT, and a bunch of people who are going to be grinding to it are ones who are going to be dedicated to grind to it, because you have to get through the rest of the South African vehicles, so you're going to have the cream of the crop for the statistics there. Seeing it go up, not a surprise. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the Leopard 2PL, which is a squadron vehicle, so anybody can grind it without even having rank 1 vehicles in the German tech tree. Seeing this thing go down is an issue, in my opinion. The Leopard 2A5 and Leopard 2A6 are incredibly strong vehicles, and the Leopard 2PL is very similar to the Leopard 2A5. The Leopard 2A5 is combat efficient at high tier in a ridiculously high way, and the PL should also be that as well. Pushing this down to 10.3 does mean that the lineup, you still play the same lineup, the 2A6, the 2A5, the PL if you want to take MBTs. If you want to play a separate one now, you can use the 2PL and then also the 2A4 and the 2K, which is obviously a lot weaker. But this thing against 9.3s is ridiculous. Putting this thing up against the T72A is just stupid. It's a terrible decision. And as somebody who has recently spaded the 2A5 and played that lineup and watched what it could do, this thing should never be moved from 10.7. Just leave it where it is, or if you want to put it to 10.3, remove its beta round, just like you should do to the 2A6. The Object 906 is going down again. It's going to 7.7 from 8.0. I haven't heard of the 906 in a long time. It used to be a very powerful vehicle, but nowadays I think it probably struggles a little bit due to the overpressure mechanic that's been added. It gets artilleried quite easily, and at the same time, you know, the autoloader is really nice, but now you have a ton of other crazy machines that are around that BR as well, so it probably gets beaten up a little bit. I've got to give it a go again though, because I really did enjoy it back in the day. The Chieftain Mark V going up to 8.7 is a slap in the face to every British player that plays this game, who enjoys it. The Chieftain Mark V is very, very, very similar to the Mark III, and the upgrades that it gets are not really useful compared to the usefulness of the Mark III itself. The fact that this machine is going up is ludicrous. It is really a bad change in my opinion, and this is based on my experiences playing it. I have spaded all of the Chieftains, the Mark III, the Mark V, and the Mark X. The Mark III and the Mark V play exactly the same. You don't get any real advantage from the upgrades of the Mark V, and it still has the same issues as the Mark III. Both of my Chieftains right now are at around about 35 to 40% win rate, and just remember, generally my win rates when it comes to ground realistic are around about 55 to 56% across the board. So this to me is a ridiculous change. I don't understand it at all. I don't understand why this thing is going up. I would love to have some clarification on why this vehicle needs to go up, and also why the Chieftain Mark X has still not been moved down from 9.0. Even when you have direct comparisons to something like a Leopard 1A5, which was put in at 9.0, which has thermals, a better round, more mobility, and can penetrate through the Chieftain Mark X's turret with that better round. It is ridiculous how Britain gets treated when it comes to the Chieftains and that general BR bracket. I highly disagree with this decision. And also the next one, the VFM5 is going up to 9.3. The VFM5 is a machine which has just been battered since its release. On the dev server, on the first dev server, it didn't have any NVDs, but it had a pretty decent idea of a round for the DM33. Then they changed that, so they gave it a worse APF SDS round. They put it at a BR, which was the same as the TAM2C at the time, which is completely ridiculous. The machine doesn't have access to thermals. It has a lower, APF SDS than a lot of the machines that it faces, and at the same time as well, it also has no armor, so it gets annihilated by AGMs. It also, at the same time, gets no thermals. To believe that this thing is a 9.3 vehicle is ridiculous, in my opinion, when you look at the other vehicles that are around it. At least with the VFM5, by moving it in the tech tree, they've made it a little bit better, because they have made it so it's easier to grind out. So that's a positive, but I really feel bad for this vehicle or anybody who ever wants to play it, because of the fact that it just keeps getting, screwed with, if I'm honest with you. I would love to see something like the other machines from other nations get the treatment that the VFM5 gets. Let's just get an American vehicle or a German vehicle and do what they did, do what is happening with the VFM5 over its time period, and see what would happen when it came to these changes, and see the outcry. But because it's the VFM5, nobody seems to care, because nobody's going to play it because it's already not very good. The T114 is going to 7.0. not a surprise. You know, the heat on it is very strong. It's a really good light vehicle, really small and silhouette, so you can use it for passive scouting too. The 7.0 lineup's fine for America as well, it fits in nicely. The EBR once again going up to 5.7, that thing will never stop going up. It'll still be useful at 5.7, still has a good gun, still has good reload, still has good mobility, all of that stuff, so not a surprise. The Striker is going down in BR, which is great, because the Striker has fundamental issues with it, mainly down to the fact that you can't hit anything that's close to you, and also the fact that in order to shoot stuff, you have to expose yourself. It does actually have technical blowout panels on its missile rack, though, which is kind of cool. If you get shot in the missile rack, it explodes, but it doesn't blow up your tank. But yeah, the major issue with ATGM launchers across the board, such as stuff like the Striker or the M113 and stuff like that, is you have to expose yourself to be able to fire at the enemy, even in the Striker's case, where it has the upwards trajectory, and because of this, you die very often, and you don't get the trade kill. And also, a lot of the maps just aren't set up for it because of the map rotation filter. People generally like smaller maps, so therefore it is easier to move around for them in their MBTs, but worse for the ATGM carriers. The ZT3A2 is going down as well from 8.7 to 8.3. I haven't played the vehicle, but it's probably got the same issue as a lot of the other ATGM carriers. A lot of the time are just trade killing people, because you push around a corner and they're already looking at you, or if you push at all, you have no armor, so they just annihilate you. And if you shoot from range, then they can hear the missile coming, either dodge it or turn to you and fire and still be able to hit you. So yeah, not a surprise. The Sturm S is also going down in BR, not a surprise at all. It's not a good vehicle, terrible missile platform, no armor, and also gets annihilated by AGMs. It's pretty cool when it's upgraded though, because it has access to some cool ATGMs, but that's really about it. It's a rubbish vehicle, and it's now gone down, I think, a whole 1.0 BR, because it is just not good and doesn't fit the game. The M10 is going down to 3.3, not a surprise to me either. Terrible turret rotation, and also trolley armor only gets you so far with a vehicle, so hopefully this means it'll be part of some better lineups. The ZSU57-2 is going down again, so now it's going from 7.7 to 7.3, 7.3 to 7.0, so now that Soviet 7.0 lineup just got even stronger. The IS-3 obviously very good at 7.0, the T-44-100 as well at that BR, so yeah, that's pretty strong now. We'll have to see if it now becomes meta, where it should. The Marder 3 goes down in BR. I thought it was fine at 2.3. I've seen a lot of Marder 3s do pretty well. My guess is that just, there's not a lot of armor on it, so it's whoever shoots first. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that does. The M8 HMC is also going down in BR from 1.7 to 1.3. So that's, pretty nice. The vehicle itself has a very low velocity gun, but it's pretty fun to use. It has no survivability because of the overpressure mechanic though, so yeah, that's a bit rough for it. And the 2344, the SDKFC, is going up to 4.0 from 3.7. So finally, the 2344 is on the march up in BR, which it has deserved for a very long time. Anyway, that is the ground changes. Overall, I think they're pretty good. The AA changes, I think, are very positive. The Chieftain one is a joke. The VFM5 one is a joke. The Leopard 2 PL change, I think, is also ridiculous. But the other ones are not too shabby. So overall, not too bad. Pretty positive. I just have a rethink about the Mark V, please. I don't want other people to suffer as I had to do while spading that thing and also playing it. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank BRFC, Swollen Ostrich, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Conte Baraka, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Lafouche, Barine, and Samuel Schlick for supporting the channel.